Macmillan Audio presents Shadows of Self by Brandon Sanderson. Read for you by Michael Kramer. Prologue. Waxilium Ladrian, lawman for hire, swung off his horse and turned to face the saloon. "Oh," the kid said, hopping down from his own horse, "you didn't catch your spur on the stirrup and trip." "That happened once," Waxilium said. "Yeah, but it was super funny." "Stay with the horses," Waxilium said, tossing the kid his reins. "Don't tie up Destroyer. I might need her." "Sure." "And don't steal anything." The kid, round-faced and 17, with barely a hint of stubble on his face despite weeks of trying, nodded with a solemn expression. "I promise I won't swipe nothing of yours, Wax." Waxilium sighed. "That's not what I said." "But—" "Just stay with the horses and try not to talk to anyone." Waxilium shook his head, pushing into the saloon, feeling a spring in his step. He was filling his metal mind a smidge, decreasing his weight by about 10%. Common practice for him these days, ever since he'd run out of stored weight during one of his first bounty hunts a few months back. The saloon, of course, was dirty. Practically everything out here in the roughs was dusty, worn, or broken. 5 years out here, and he still wasn't used to that. True, he'd spent most of those 5 years trying to make a living as a clerk, moving farther and farther from population centers in an effort to avoid getting recognized. But in the roughs, even the larger population centers were dirtier than those back in Ellendale. And here, on the fringes of populated lands, dirty didn't even begin to describe life. The men he passed in the saloon sat slumped low to their tables, hardly looking up. That was another thing about the roughs. Both plants and people were more prickly, and they grew lower to the ground. Even the fan-like acacias, which did stretch high at times, had this fortified, hardy sense about them. He scanned the room, hands on hips, hoping he'd draw attention. He didn't, which nagged at him. Why wear a fine city suit with a lavender cravat if nobody was going to notice? At least they weren't snickering like those in the last saloon. Hand on his gun, Waxilium sauntered up to the bar. The barkeep was a tall man who looked to have some terrace blood in him, from that willowy build, though his refined cousins in the basin would be horrified to see him chewing on a greasy chicken leg with one hand while serving a mug with the other. Waxilium tried not to be nauseated. The local notion of hygiene was another thing he wasn't yet accustomed to. Out here, the fastidious ones were those who remembered to wipe their hands on their trousers between picking their nose and shaking your hand. Waxilium waited, then waited some more, then cleared his throat. Finally, the barkeep lumbered over to him. "Yeah?" "I'm looking for a man," Waxilium said under his breath. "Goes by the name of Granite Joe." "Don't know him," the barkeep said. "Don't... He's only the single most notorious outlaw in these parts." "Don't know him. But it's safer to not know men like Joe," the barkeep said, then took a bite of his chicken leg. "But I have a friend." "That's surprising." The barkeep glared at him. "Ahem," Waxilium said. "Sorry. Continue." "My friend might be willing to know people that others won't. It will take a little time to get him. You'll pay?" "I'm a lawman," Waxilium said. "I do what I do in the name of justice." The barkeep blinked. Slowly, deliberately, as if it required conscious effort. "So, you'll pay?" "Yes, I'll pay," Waxilium said with a sigh, mentally counting what he'd already spent hunting Granite Joe. He couldn't afford to go in the hole again. Destroyer needed a new saddle, and Waxilium went through suits frightfully quick out here.